We actually heard briefly from one of our friends, our first speaker for tonight, a guy who's been a great friend for me for the last several years as I work around the Georgia legislature. It's one thing to have pro-life voters, pro-family voters, pro-freedom voters, but it's another thing to have a true champion that steps up and actually files the bills, he whips these bills throughout the legislature. He truly kind of puts his money proverbial where his proverbial mouth is. And I hope that you would join me in welcoming to the stage State Senator Bruce Thompson.
How's everybody doing? The one thing I realized when we start campaigning is about every 2 or 3 days you're at a different event, right? And as we get closer to the election, more of these happen. Just 2 days ago, we said the same thing from the stage, and I got a roaring response because people are fired up. So, Ralph, I'm going to try again because I assumed they were not paying attention. How we doing? It's better. Listen, see this up here? Faith and freedom. We have no freedom without faith, ladies and gentlemen. We have no freedom unless you have a faith. Teams do not win championships by standing on the sidelines. You think about that for a second. Teams do not win championships by standing on the sidelines or not being engaged. UGA didn't win any championship by not recruiting the best. They took time. They went out and looked. They said, we want that player on that team over there, and we want that player. And certainly we know the Braves have a farm team, and they're doing recruitment, and they're grooming people to be able to put together championship teams. And I'm going to do something that's just a little bit outside the box, which some of you are used to. At my table, I have a gentleman named Kartik Bhatt. Kartik, will you stand for a minute? Can we give him a hand? You see, Kartik and I ran against each other. And we committed at the end, whoever won, we were going to stand together and we were going to make sure we did not have a Democrat win the Department of Labor. And I'm going to steal one of his lines. We are one country, one blood, one nation, and he's my brother. And I appreciate you and love you. I got 2 minutes left. I'm going to zoom through this real quick because you go, who is this guy? So I'm a guy that grew up in Montana. Not Yellowstone, Montana, like you see on TV. We're talking about the real Montana. Some of you visited, you don't really understand the real Montana. We were 88 miles to Great Falls to a hospital. We were 45 miles to Havre. We were in a little town of Big Sandy. And we were on a farm that was 40 miles out. So you do the math, you're smart. We're 120 plus miles to a hospital. You learn how to survive. And I learned how to survive even more than that because I grew up under a stepdad that was an alcoholic and abuser. Got quiet in here. I'm telling you this because it's my story, and it's a story I'm asking you to go and connect voters to this party. Because they identify with us. We're in that world of I identify as, right? Identify as this and that. Why don't we identify as strong Christian, Republican, conservatives that, by the way, are inclusive in telling our story. It doesn't make you weak to tell your story. I went off to college on a wrestling scholarship, got hurt, went to tank command school, wound up in Georgia, started some companies, got talked into the Senate, worked on a little thing called Army Cyber Command, might have been the Senate sponsor of the heartbeat bill. How about the homeschool bill we got finally passed? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do. Now it's time for me on a stage to fix an agency that is severely broken. And we plan, thank you. We'll take up an offering later. In the last 16 seconds, here's what I'll tell you. My team has traveled 151,000 miles in the last 14 months driving to cities to tell our story and tell our story and listen to their story. And as I close, if we want to win, It's not going to be a red wave without us telling our story, but listening to people's story. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bruce Thompson. I want to be your labor commissioner, but more than that, I want you to stand with me as we continue to support this organization, Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition. Thank you.